As you all know, when it comes to Sonic characters, the only one I really care about is Fang the Sniper. I mean, hell, I have like 16 videos, most of them AMVs or discussions about this one character. Anyway, for the longest time, I couldn't help but wonder, why doesn't Sega ever use this character? Obviously, a lot of people like him, including me. Well, people, I think I finally figured out that answer, according to an article on TSSZ News, which talks about the creation of Fang the Sniper. The character of Fang the Sniper was created by Toma, who was an art designer who worked at Sega. Now, the article goes on to say that because Toma created the character belongs to him and not Sega. But even I know that's not true. You see, once you create something for a company like Sega, it becomes their sole property, and you can't do anything with it. And besides, Fang the Sniper still makes regular appearances in the Archie comic book series. Okay, so if that's not the reason he's not in the games anymore, what is? Well, as I continue reading down the article, it turns out Sega is well aware people want this character back in the games. But according to a Sega official, doing so would not be so easy. As he says, bringing back Nack would ultimately involve crafting a game which Nack's reappearance would be an essential part of the story, thus justifying his return and the time necessary to redesign and retool him to fit the current canon. I'll admit that bringing a character into a video game series isn't always as easy as someone would think. However, given that Nack's simple roles as a crook and a mercenary, and Team Sega's ingenious creativity, this would not be a hard thing to do. Oh wait a minute, what does this next part say? He can't be a thief because that's Rouge's role now, and if he was a mercenary for hire, that'd be treading on Rouge's ground. In all seriousness, where does he fit?
Are you kidding me?
Sadly, no, I am not kidding.
Okay, basically what they just said here is, there can be only one character who fits the job description of being a crook or a mercenary, and that one person is Rouge the Bat. Okay, first off, I'll admit there are some characters you only need one of. However, when it comes to crooks, mercenaries, and bounty hunters, you can never have enough of those. Secondly, I hardly consider Rouge the Bat to be a crook or a mercenary anymore. Now, I'm willing to admit that in the first few games and the cartoon series, Sonic X, she definitely qualified as a crook and a mercenary. But lately, she hasn't really done anything to live up to that. Now, I know that she continues to steal from Knuckles, but the only reason she seems to do that anymore is just so she can flirt and harass him. Now, I have to admit that does provide a good dose of comedy. But even I have to admit, it's getting old. Now, as far as her being a mercenary, again, she was a mercenary in the first game, she was a mercenary in the cartoon, but lately, she hasn't done a damn thing to really prove it. And just because you work for a government organization, that does not make you a mercenary. In fact, working for a government organization makes you more of a secret agent. In fact, why don't they just go there? Why don't they just make Rouge a secret agent? That would make a heck of a lot more sense. And thirdly, what they just said was kinda hypocritical. You know, having only one character fitting a role or job description. Oh, really? Then would you care to explain Eggman Nega, who is basically a straight-up clone of the regular Eggman? Well, you see, he is from a different dimension, so therefore it is different. I don't care if he's from Timbuktu, he is still an egg-shaped scientist bent on world domination. The only difference between him and a regular Eggman are colors, and he's a little bit more deranged in personality, but otherwise he's exactly the same. Or maybe that's just it. Maybe Sega thinks the characters are too similar. In that case, allow me to go through the differences between these two characters. First off, Fang is a guy. And when you have a character who is the opposite gender, there's a good chance that there will be a difference in the behavior. Secondly, while both Fang and Rouge have an infatuation with the Chaos Emeralds, they want them for different reasons. Rouge is just obsessed with them and only wants them for their beauty. Fang, on the other hand, just wants them so he can sell them for money. Thirdly, and probably the most important, Fang is a bad guy who does bad things. Rouge, on the other hand, not really all that bad. In fact, the only time she was ever truly bad was in the last season of Sonic X. Now, you'll probably say, well, she steals from Knuckles, that's pretty bad. See previous statement for what I just said about that. The last bit of the article goes on to say, I like Fang/Nack, but how do you get him back without devaluing somebody who's already there? Really? Why didn't you just say that in the beginning of the article? Now, the word devalue is often associated with money, and usually means to make less important. So, they're afraid by having two characters who share a similar role that somehow one will become less important. Although, if you ask me, I think this has more to do with popularity. I think that SEGA is afraid that by bringing back Fang, he might overshadow Rouge in popularity, therefore pushing her character into the background, and making her less important. Now, this is a very valid fear. I mean, how many times have we seen this? A video game franchise has a character who's been around for a long time and is well established. But then they introduce a new character who is similar and begins to overshadow the old character, usually in popularity, until the old character is usually non-existent. Now, like I just said, it is a valid fear. But in this situation, I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I mean, sure, both characters do share similarities, but they have differences that set them apart. Therefore, I find this idea to be absurd and ludicrous, and I'm sure a lot of fans would agree with me. Actually, I think the only way Fang could somehow make Rouge less important all depends on how the character is used. But that is a discussion for another time. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking I'm overreacting. And maybe I am, just a little. But here's the thing. It really aggravates me to no end when you have Fang, who is a well-liked character, and fairly well developed, and yet they keep him out of every single game for the most idiotic of reasons. Meanwhile, characters like Big the Cat get shoved into every single game, despite the fact he has got to be the most unnecessary and totally useless character they've ever come up with. I mean, what reason do they have for keeping him around? Anyway, this article was written back in January of 2009. Since then, there was a Facebook poll asking people which obscure and old character would you like to bring back, and it turned out the winner was Fang the Sniper. Hopefully, this poll result will persuade SEGA to bring back the character. But will it really? Only time will tell.